Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Matrix.
Do you want to know what it is?
Hello and welcome to The Road to the Matrix Resurrections. What do you want to watch us look back at the Wachowskis' iconic trilogy before we jack back into the Matrix again. I'm Ashley Hobley, the one, hosting this podcast, and joining me today is the Deus Ex Machina of Explosion Network, Dylan Blight.
Happy to be here to talk about the last, I guess the third in the trilogy, but there's a fourth film coming, and that's the whole reason we're doing this, so yeah.
Alright, and taking the red pill with us is Take My Tone, Simon Blackburn.
I'm nothing but an olive in between Merovingian's teeth.
I mean...
if you want to be.
Shout out to the continuity person for making sure that they kept track of how much of the olives he ate. I guess that's what I was thinking when he was doing that.
That's someone's job, so
yeah.
at least they were doing it properly.
It was just the one take. Yeah, that's the other option. So, all right.
They were CGI olives.
Impressive, Ben. Very impressive. Today we're talking about The Matrix Revolution, so please be aware we'll be discussing everything and anything about the plot themes and ending of the film, so if you haven't watched it, come back later. So let's jump to our discussion of The Matrix Revolutions.
Do you know what happened to Neo?
He is trapped in a place between this world and the machine world.
Bring me the eyes of the Oracle, and I will give you back your savior.
Mr. Anderson,
Who are you? Look past the flesh and see your enemy. It's impossible. Not impossible. Inevitable.
In less than 12 hours, the machines will breach the dock walls.
If we have to give our lives, we give him hell before we do!
Can Zion be saved?
tonight, the future of both worlds will be in your hands or in his.
Mr. Anderson, welcome back. We missed you.
It ends tonight.
Directed by the Wachowskis, written by the Wachowskis, based on characters by the Wachowskis, starring Keanu Reeves, Laurence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, Jada Pinkett Smith. Neo, humanity's only hope of stopping the machine and saving Zion, attempts to broker peace between the machines and humans. However, he first must confront his arch nemesis, the rogue agent Smith. Simon, what are your memories of the Matrix Revolutions, and what do you think of on this watch?
So, as I mentioned on previous episodes, I have only saw this the once when it came out, and then obviously going into it at the time with that feeling of like it came out so soon after the second one, it sort of doesn't feel like legitimate at the time. Whereas obviously since then, a lot more film studios have done that sort of thing, so it's become the norm. But man, I was so surprised not so much surprised, but like very happy at how good this was. I really, really like this. I think I possibly like this better than the second one. And I did not expect that. My hazy memory of it being so... In my mind, I thought it was going to be completely covered in CGI, green and black, and it was hardly any of that in comparison. Very much, obviously, like a war film, but so many iconic scenes as well that I never pieced in my mind that they were part of the third one. So, I was really happy with it.
Dylan, what are your thoughts?
I would agree. This is better than the second one, in my opinion. Not quite as good as the first one. The first one just sort of stands alone, but out of like wrapping up. And I've watched this, I think twice. Like I watched it when it released in whatever 2003 we decided or whatever, or probably 2004 by the time I watched it at home video. And then I watched it when I brought a DVD box set when I started earning some money when I was a teenager or whatever. I don't think I've watched it since then. So, but I went into this going, I think I like this movie. Like, I've always been one who sort of stood up for the sequels for Matrix whenever people started like talking shit on them as they do. I was like, no, they're like all right or whatever. Like, but I hadn't watched them in a while, so I went into this expecting to. I think I like this movie. So I was glad I do. I do indeed like this movie. I think this movie sort of cops a lot of shit for, it's just, well, both the sequels just cop a lot of shit for not being what everyone wanted the sequels to be, and instead just being what the Wachowskis wanted them to be. It's like their own thing. This movie, more so than either of the others, plays into genres. So the first one's got this whole, because it's mostly in the Matrix, it's like this kung fu movie. Like, that's primarily what people view it as, like a kung fu movie. However, the other genre that was a deep inspiration, and you see it slightly in the first movie, is of course like the cyberpunk inspirations, dystopian future type stuff, which you get so much more of in this. And then obviously the war movie inspirations for the battle scenes and stuff like that. So, but this is the most like cyberpunky feeling one, because it's mostly set during the real world, especially when they're walking around just on the actual surface and all that sort of stuff. It's like just reminding me of it's actually even it's like, oh yeah, somewhere Ridley Scott between Blade Runner or like Alien, like sort of like between those two sorts of sets and vibes as a get off it. But I think it's really, really good. I think that the ending's actually good. I think this has the best character work of all of them, or at least pays off a lot of stuff that you don't get much of in the second one, because they gave you the most action in the second one. And I think although a lot of it is still wanky mumbo jumbo speeches, they commit to that, and I think they make it work by the end, because I actually don't think the ending's as confusing as a lot of people who've maybe only watched the movie once, like in their mind, like, it's like, the ending makes no sense. It's like, there's questions, but as a like what actually happened, you can't actually say what happened. There is a definitive answer to what happens in the finale of the movie. There's just a couple questions left as to what happens after that period to characters or things or what have you. I'm sure we'll get to that, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think this is a good movie.
Yeah, I think I said as well, I've watched it in cinemas, and that's kind of the only time I've watched it. Didn't particularly think it was great. I think, yeah, like you guys, I think this is better than I expected it to be. I would say that the special effects hold up better in this than they do in
definitely
Reloaded.
One?
I think there's hardly
like, there was
any
nothing
like
in this.
age. Yeah,
I can't think of anything that looked bad in this.
I'll tell you what it is. It's the big difference between having a lot of the CGI stuff in the second one set during daytime, and a lot of the CGI stuff.
There's a reason it was the major fight at the end
nighttime.
is in the nighttime in the rain.
Yeah, it really helps hide some of the stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, I think like super impressive. I think it's interesting going and having a look at some of the criticisms, like the reviews when it initially came out. I feel like a large reason why this movie is kind of not as well received is it just doesn't. It's not a super satisfying finale, and it does, for large swaths of the film, focus on characters other than the main characters we've been following in the previous two films. That's here nor there, but yeah, I was actually surprised how much I liked it. I feel like you do get enough of like the core cast, but also, you know, you do get these characters that were teased kind of in the previous film and that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
but at least they actually like follow through. You know, okay, let's say Reloaded to Revolutions, they introduce some characters in Reloaded, and then you get more of them. They get to expand upon them in Revolutions. You get characters introduced in Last Jedi that were completely shat on in Rise of Skywalker. So I like the fact that they actually they bring people in and then they make it worth having brought them into the story to begin with, and they didn't just constantly focus on, like, ultimately it comes back to Neo, Trinity, Agent Smith, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I was just very surprised at how well balanced it was between it, considering that we've gone through that stark difference of first film and then chucked into Zion, and you're like, what's going on? And then by that point, for this one, you're fully invested in that. and pick up where it left off, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be interesting to see a lot of people's reactions now, especially with a lot of the Marvel movies where people just introduced like suddenly for like 10 minutes or something, and then they're really happy to see them like expanded in the next film or whatever. But yeah, really, really good. Might as well kickstart the discussion with like the start of the film. Obviously, it begins with Neo jacking into the Matrix without being jacked into the Matrix. Do you feel like at the end we understand what the One actually was?
Yes, he's an antivirus, or I guess is
he's a COVID vaccine.
Yeah, it's a COVID vaccine. I mean, that's what the architect explains. It Neo's a thing they know about. He's a continuous bug in the system, and Agent Smith is sort of his antithesis. So if Agent Smith is a virus, and you can view Neo as an antivirus, there's always Neo throughout every version of the history. He's always makes the same choice though, but in this event or film,
does he
makes
though?
the opposite choice.
That's
that's
question.
what he explains. Yeah, so in the 6 incarnations prior,
is there always an Agent Smith though?
I would assume so. But we know for sure, because the architect 100% says to our face, the 6 of her prior, they chose to go to the opposite door. They chose to restart Zion. They chose to get the 6 females and 9 men or whatever fucking weird number it was. That's what they chose to do. However, this version of Neo chose to go save Trinity. So love rules all in this universe, or whatever sort of thing you want to go for that.
Or
that is
this is because of Agent Smith's involvement in this iteration.
Could be. As to why he gets this, why he can enter the Matrix or whatever, it's the film by the end playing heavily into its Blade Runner, or no, playing heavily into cyberpunk themes of like, can robots be human and all this sort of stuff. By the end of this film, you've got Neo, who's like basically become half machine, having tapped into basically the center point of the Matrix. And then after he can come out, he's able to tap into that side. And then you've got Agent Smith, someone who then literally leaves and comes into the human world, and then he's a robot AI in a human body. So the two switch paths or sort of converge. So that's like very leaning heavily on typical cyberpunk themes of that, and that's why he has the ability. They try and say it's basically because he gets to the center of the Matrix, and then that's why when he leaves, he suddenly has these powers. Is sort of the wishy-washy way of why he can suddenly hook into the Matrix, because he basically took the direct dose of the Matrix straight to the arse, and then that it now enables him to hook in. Yeah, so.
It's interesting.
What is the One though? It's a fable that the architect and the Oracle literally make up to help keep everything in line. Like it's a fable that they give. That's what he explains in the last film, that they give to those who escape and get out and start Zion, so that instead of like fucking with their shit, they're so distracted on trying to find the One, and then the One eventually just restarts Zion, and that's the whole purpose. Like the point of the One is to distract and keep everyone in line, because they're so focused on finding him. That is the point of the One. It's like a fairy tale. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the initial purpose of the One, but I feel like the One is it kind of implies that the One's kind of expanded his scope, I feel like.
Well, by the end, you're then left open.
Like, I
to
feel
this
like
thing of
Neo kind of like obviously connected with the Matrix and obviously with the machine source. Like, he's a conduit for that, obviously, at the end. And like, obviously, we see he can see machines outside of the Matrix and that kind of thing. So I think he clearly had some sort of connection to the power source, whether that was always a thing that he always had. Just
no, he would have never had that, because he never left that room back to get those powers.
Or was he?
No.
Insert audio snippet. Did he though? Yeah, I think Dylan's makes the most sense to what I was thinking, but then there are always those points where you go, but how about this? Like, there's always like a on the contrary type thing. I think ultimately him coming in and seeing the creepy face and getting carried away into it and all sort of stuff, and the real like all that Christ-like light emitting imagery and all that sort of stuff. He's becoming one with that. And then he's just like fucking awesome after that point. So I find it very interesting when you come back to that thing of just like Architect and Oracle and their relationship and the way they talk about each other. Because at the start, it sounds very much like, they're almost, like opposites or whatever. But then they're kind of like coercing this, as you said, this fable together. So, somewhere between all of that and a lot of Sentinel arms, that's what I took away from it.
I mean, there are people who believe the Matrix ends, and then after all this, that the real world, like Zion and everything, is just another level of the Matrix. Which I've never liked that theory because it's just dumb as fuck and like leads you to go like there's no point to anything at all at that point. So like if you
like
truly believe, well, yeah, I guess. But like there are people who believe Zion, the real world, isn't actually the real world, and it's just another layer in the game or whatever. But it's like at that point, what is the movies about? Like, there's nothing. It's just nonsense.
We're gonna feel like we're gonna end up with more questions than answers come the fourth one. But that's a whole
especially
other...
if they want to do 3 more. Like they want to do up to 6.
They want to
maybe,
keep doing.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I don't know
trilogy.
That. So I guess ultimately the thing would be, the question would be, you're talking about the 6 prior, the ones, and then there's Neo's the 1. So does that mean there can be the 1 after Neo? Or is that like...
And then there's Jet Li's the 1.
Yeah, Jet Li's the 1.
Yeah. How do we know Jet Li's the 1 wasn't one of the previous ones?
That'd be pretty dope, actually.
It's true.
But then he doesn't want his moves to
doesn't want his moves
controlled.
Copied.
Yeah.
So
to be copying my
probably
moves,
don't
man.
need to now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it was it's cool. So where were we chronologically?
So obviously Neo gets kind of pulled into the Matrix. He ends up in the train station. Kind of interesting because obviously he's encounters these programs that are trying to save their daughter, which raises a lot of questions. But
again, like, and this is another thing I've seen people complain about. This whole scene, like, why do they spend so much time on these characters and stuff? It's you compare this to the way they treat robots, AI in the first film, where it's just like they are literally written as like mindless agents, and that is the AI, and they're just like bad guys, no personalities, nothing. And then by the time you get to the last film, they're now exploring the idea of AI not only caring about other people, but also other AI, robots, whatever, and also to the point feeling love and emotion and caring for like a child and all this. Like it very heavily, all these characters more or less exist solely to get you on board with these like very typical cyberpunk themes of can AI or artificial intelligence like care and love and be real or whatever. Like that's all I take from it.
I love that the introduction of that, just the entire. This is what I meant earlier by this is one of those like core Matrix memories that I forgot was specifically part of the third one. Just the whole train station thing and the thing with the train man and just that tension of like, train is coming, it's running late, what's happening, sort of thing. Old mate, Aussie actor playing the train man, awesome. He just
Bruce Spence
can always play creepy looking dudes of Ace Ventura 2 fame and a lot of other Australian films. It's that as if you sort of think of that as an opening, I loved it. That just and then them starting the film with that and then ending with Oracle and the girl again. Good way to bookend it. But yeah, that whole thing, it helps kick the film off rather than make it feel like you've just hit play again at the end of the second film, if you know what I mean. It's not like straight up. I know it brings in something different other than just being like, okay, yeah, we're back in Zion and this is the getting ready for the war sort of type vibes. And then you're then sort of following these prominent two stories essentially. So yeah, just even that in itself, I really liked.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get obviously Morpheus and Trinity going back in the Matrix to try and save Neo, rescue Neo. Oh no, just to go see the Oracle first, isn't it? Because Seraph
see the Oracle, and then they head off with Seraph to talk to the.
Which I guess obviously Gloria Foster, who played the Oracle in the previous two films, passed away before completing the third film. So Mary Alice came in. They go to great lengths to explain why
she
looks
looks different.
Person.
Yes, yeah, that's what and I forgot that was a thing. Like I thought that it was just gonna be a thing where it's like a different actor and they don't even touch on it because it's the character. But yeah, they exactly spent the great lengths. Like it's sort of touched on several times.
Yeah,
it's like wow, they're really,
really important. But yeah, then of course we have them. You have to go visit the Merovingian. Who
I love the way that
they just decided to call him the Frenchman. They just gave up and this is too difficult to pronounce.
I just love though, the Trainman's when he's just saying about he's like, down here I am God. He's like blah 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 the Merovingian. Like I always just remember every time I think of Merovingian, I just think of him pronouncing it like that. And it's everything about the way that some of these characters have their very unique, just the way the character delivers their lines and everything like that between Agent Smith, Trainman, and various other people. Even old mate, the commander, is got a very intense way of speaking. It helps you become invested in characters having commanding authority and stuff, and again adding to that tension. So just throughout the entire series, from a casting level, I think they did really well with that.
I think, they really love shooting raves is the main thing to take away from this.
This one was extra gothy BDSM-y.
Yes.
BDSM-y award.
Whoa. Some of those outfits.
Yeah.
A lot of latex.
I mean, it's a Matrix. Everyone wears fucking latex. Whole movie's BDSM.
That's true. Yeah. That's very true. Of course, Neo needs to go back and talk to the Oracle again. Kind of explaining, revealing that Smith intends to destroy both the Matrix and the real world. She tells him everything that has a beginning has an end. Nice little final scene before the Smiths come along and absorb Oracle. Absorbed both Seraph and Sadie, the little girl, as pointed out as well. It's pretty messed up.
He's just going around fingering everyone.
I mean,
that's one way you can talk about it, yeah.
I mean, Hugo Weaving's laugh in this is kind of haunting.
Oh, dude.
It's so good, though, that close-up shot.
The GIF factor for that. I mean, we've used it twice already in our chat, so... oh, man, I love it. Yep.
So good. He's great. I think he played a high elf.
So then we're back at on the Hammer, who have come across Niobe's ship, the Logos. They're trying to interrogate Bane, who obviously was the person who Agent Smith recovered. Shouts to this actor, because he does a spot on, Ian Bliss does a spot on impression of Hugo Weaving's Agent Smith.
It's cool. I love it. It's so...
But I thought it was a dub, but it's not.
I love how well it's pulled off, but then I also don't love how long it takes Neo to realize that it's Agent Smith in there.
Yeah, later. It's ridiculous.
It's like you got the Mr. Anderson counter. Is like, but just grab his face. Mr. Anderson. But yeah, that whole thing is he kills off Essie Davis' character, and then but then this is all happening amongst them trying to sort out the stuff to do with I'm gonna fly a ship. You can't pilot mechanical. Bitch, I can pilot mechanical. And I'm a girl, and I can pilot mechanical. Yeah. So, something that's...
Shout outs to Jada Pinkett Smith.
They're like, impossible. And she's like... She delivers the best...
She should be in the next Fast and Furious movie.
She delivers the best...
Especially if they're going to continue using spaceships, yeah.
She delivers the best line in the entire film, which is, shit, she's got a big ass. and you know what I wrote down in my notes for that? Pixar mum.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, the typecast Pixar, every Pixar mum has a bigger...
Pixar mums have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're packing.
So then, you know, she agrees to take... Neo, after much deliberating for a long time in his room by himself, realizes he needs to go visit the Machine City, so he and Trinity go in that direction, and everybody else is going back to Zion to try and, you know, save Zion. So while this is happening, Zion finally gets attacked. They finally break through, and there's like the massive war sequence. So obviously this like takes up a fair portion of the movie. I feel like obviously this is where like people's interests kind of wanes, I feel like. Because it is a bunch of people that we haven't really seen much of before, intercut with Morpheus and Niobe flying the ship through tunnels. But, you know, for the most part, it's just like a bunch of people we don't know very much about, so...
Although I kind of like how you're introduced to, like, say there's that pair, there's the Thingo's... Is it the wife? The girlfriend of the wife? And then she's got a friend who's got like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that entire scene is like someone that you've barely even seen before, but then you're just invested that they're all fighting towards this same cause. And then the whole like lean them over down into the sort of canyon thing and fire it and fuck, it doesn't work. And that's all, that's all intense.
I think as like a war film, it works.
It works, yeah.
Like,
that's what I mean.
It's as its own standalone war sequence, it's like pretty good.
Yep.
And like the CGI and everything looks pretty solid for just a bunch of giant CGI monster robot things.
Yeah.
Better than some maybe modern movies.
There's that one shot too where right when the kid who we got introduced to in the last film's like running out to...
He's called the kid, so...
Is he? Okay. Well, when he's running out with his little basket, and they do like a side-on wide shot of all the what are they called? Sentinels. Where all the Sentinels like flying around with old mate while he's like shooting them, but it's like slow motion. It's like they're really looped around him, and it's like this. It was really like... I was like, oh, you could like screenshot this, and that's a wallpaper.
Yeah, it did look epic how and then he just almost like walks into like a swarm sort of thing, and then you see more of
like
that later on.
He's in the middle,
yeah,
and they're like looped around him, and he's like you can see him in the, and you see the kid down the other end of the screen, like down this other side, and he's like, you can just see him pushing the trolley. It's like 2-3 seconds of the film or whatever, but for whatever reason, it's like stood out to me. I was like, oh, that's a good shot. Like that was like sort of
but even the one of like where they've got that little slide over door hidden, and they're like, yeah, yo, the guys need more like ammo and shit. And then it's like they open the door and there's a sentinel right there, and it's got that real war like we've never done this before. Like he hasn't done completed the training, all sort of stuff, and it's just like just completely scared. Just go out into this battlefield, and that just in parallel to obviously like real life. Counts of war and things like that, and people being so young. I love how they pull that off. Like there's an element of the way they use the emotion and the fear and the intensity in this, even though you're dealing with predominantly animated beings. But you can still hold on to all of that. I think, and for the year that it came out too. That's just what's made me appreciate this so much more this time around.
It's funny when you like reverse it and be like, in real life, you were sort of just drafted once you were a certain age, no ifs or buts. But in this film, this 16-year-old kid's like, I want to fight, and he's like, nah, we needed the help, but you're not old enough and you haven't done the training, so nah.
But then that was also a thing as well. There were like, I think. There's a lot of things. I don't know. We need to consult with Nick Pryor for this. Our war history buff. But with like First World War and that, the whole idea of like, these younger teen guys and that puffing out their chests, like holding it in, trying to make themselves feel physically more fit and stuff so they can go in because they want to fight for the country and sort of stuff like thing. Versus by the time the second one comes around, it's like, yeah.
Well, So I know that for a thing. Like that's sort of a fact where everyone wanted to fight in World War One because it was the first World War, and everyone was like, "I'm fighting for this is a big thing, and I feel like empowered, and I really want to do this." And
always remember
World
your
War
first.
II came around, everyone was like, "This guy's no, this sounds horrible," and like, remember what happened with the first one? I don't want to do this. Like,
fuck that shit.
But I do like the line like. Those Sentinels don't care how old I am. It's like, they'll kill me anyway.
Yeah,
true.
And then I love, he's getting grilled, absolutely. And then that brutal kill of the dude in the mech suit, fucking face cut right into like a steak, gnarly looking. And then when like he got that fight ending scene and he's just like, I didn't complete the training either. I'm just like, yeah. I'm like feeling this kind of like, it's like father and son thing. That was sweet.
Yeah. So then the kid goes and destroys the counterweight on the gate. You have to assume kicking the captain's body out of the ship. Just dumping his body on the side.
It's fine. It's fine. You gotta do what you gotta do. You know?
It's for the greater good.
I cannot watch these things either without thinking of Aliens and just Ripley, like at the end of the film, and like it's not exactly like these, but anytime I see anything in sci-fi that's like these sorts of machines, it just it makes me think of Aliens because Ripley gets in the fucking like forklifty type thing that's designed as one of these. I'm sure Ash hasn't seen Aliens, so that's why I'm describing the scene in detail.
It's okay, Ash. I haven't seen
Parodies.
Aliens either.
Have you not seen Aliens either?
I haven't seen Alien or Aliens either.
Oh my god.
I don't feel
what the fuck am I podcasting with right now? Jesus
That's
Christ.
fine. I watched the Halloween episode of Community where they dress up as Alien and Ripley.
No, here's the issue.
Get away from my podcast, you bitch!
Here's the issue.
I don't get that reference.
So what year did the first Alien come out? Aliens. There would have been.
Fuck, that's a good question. I think it's like late 70s.
Yeah. So the issue is, and this is like with music and stuff, is it's all these iconic films I haven't seen because it's like I've watched so many films that have come out from when I had my earliest memories of watching movies, and I never really went back. So it's like one of my earliest memories is like E.T. and things like that, and I remember them, and it's like I watch from there onwards, and I don't go back, so I've missed a lot of these classic like Aliens.
This isn't a good excuse because I'm younger than you. So
I'm just saying it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Exactly. So what I was going to say. So you said for the greater good. Now I had a very interesting conversation at work today where my workmate, he'd only seen the first Matrix once, and I said I was doing this podcast, and he wants to he just never really got into Matrix at the time. Yeah. Anyway, so he's rewatched the first one. He's going to do the second and the third. He's going to listen along to these when we release them. Now,
shout out to Simon's workmate.
Yeah. So he was saying to me, he's like, in Matrix 1, in the lobby, are the security people real people or are they virtual constructs?
I would assume they're real people.
They're real people.
Yeah. And then so he's sort of saying like, he sort of said that to me and he's like, so they just go in and they just fuck up all these people. And he's like, does that make them the bad guy? I'm like, well, it's kind of like, when you go to war and there's like the opposing side sort of thing. And it's very hard to explain it without sounding
the amount of collateral damage that America does it makes it like, this looks tiny. Because
then there was a note about one of the editors of The Matrix said that they aren't people and they are virtual constructs. But then all these other people saying that editor guy doesn't actually know how The Matrix works. I ended up in a Reddit rabbit hole.
They could technically be programs.
And that's kind of what I thought because
like
you don't
protecting the building that they're in.
Because from memory, none of them get overtaken by an agent, right? Whereas like the homeless man does and all sorts of stuff.
No, they get blown up before.
So they could be anyway. That's the whole, for the greater good argument, I guess. And then that opens up a huge can of worms of, every single war in history.
my main thing for this topic whenever I'm saying it is, are we 100% sure that if you die in the Matrix before you're awoken that you'll actually die in real life. And I say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say no. I say that if you're asleep and you're still part of the Matrix, then they would simply, your body would still be fine and you wouldn't die, and then you may just be eaten, I guess, at that stage. Or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that you die. You only die in the Matrix.
Because your brain believes you've died. So
yeah, and then what about the bit when like Mouse is getting shot at and stuff and his body is going, isn't there blood coming out of it?
Yeah, but then he's awakened.
He's already been awakened.
He's already awoken. Yes, I'm saying anyone who's not already taken.
As soon as you believe you're dead, you're dead. So.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. Anyway,
then I'll be dead a long time ago. Oh,
oh shit.
So then the hammer comes flying in through the dock gates. They hit that big EMP. All the Sentinels go crashing down. Then Harry Lennox,
like 2 minutes.
Captain comes along and says, "You fucked us all. We've got no defenses left. They're going to come kill us."
He comes in. He's like, "Why do you have to fuck me on this one?"
It's beyond me. It's definitely beyond me.
Yeah, that was a bit like, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, they did a good thing. And then he comes along, I'm like, oh, here's the party pooper. And then he's angry and then he says stuff. I was like, well, I guess he does have a point at the same time. So it's sort of like I could see both. Yeah.
No,
sure.
They are fucked, but it's also they were fucked.
They were fucked.
So.
It's like you gave them an extra 20 minutes. So
yeah,
exactly.
And we got to see what Link and his Z reunite. So it's all worth it.
That's all that matters.
I will say, I don't know. It's weird that you never see them kiss, but then every time Neo and Trinity see each other, they kiss.
It's because audiences at the time weren't adjusted to watching two black people kiss on screen.
I don't know. I feel like there were a lot of Spike Lee films. So
was this out in 1970s?
Yeah,
no, it's 2004. So I don't know.
I'm just fucking with you. But yeah, that is weird, especially because he's the one that's all like sexed up, and he's like my pussy, and
maybe the actors just didn't like each other.
Yeah, but he's the dude from Lost. He's like a likable guy, isn't he? Yeah, no.
He's got a kid.
No, maybe it's for
his kid is the kid, and then that's when you have more questions. Anyway,
sure.
So then we got Neo and Trinity on the other ship. Actually, right before all this, turns out they can't get the ship started, even though it was started seconds. They jump started it long ago. But it's Bane inside of the ship, knocks out Trinity, ties her up, holds her hostage. Like you said, takes forever for Neo to figure out it's Smith inside. And they have a good old fisty fight. Like, definitely not like any fight they had inside the Matrix.
Yes, Bane pops up. He's like, Mr. Anderson.
I do appreciate though the fight scenes, because this is the most full-on fight scene you get outside the Matrix, and so you can do like a direct comparison to just like the Matrix, so stylized with the like all the sound effects, full-on kung fu shit,
10-pin bowling sound effects. It's like just
a brawl with no real added sound effects or anything. It's just like punch, 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 like nothing. So I appreciate them making sure to distinctly go like it's very different. But yeah, the fact that he takes so long to realize is dumb. I do like this bit though, just because you get to hear this actor do like the best impression for like 5 minutes straight, and he burns Neo's fucking eyes out. Neo's eyes get also looks cool.
Yeah,
it looks like
a cool like monk moment though.
Yeah, but it looks like the way he's been burnt looks like a little like sleeping eye mask that like was like like a heated sleeping eye mask that like blew up while you're sleeping or something. It's like perfectly plastered to his face, but I'm like, God damn, that hurts.
Yeah, it should have been like more scarred up on one side or something. Yeah.
You know what I think? I think if the Wachowskis could go back in time, they would have had that scene in the first movie that instead of Neo's mouth getting sewn up, it would have been his eyes. So then by the time you get to the third film, it's like sort of poetic.
Ta-da!
That's what I'd change. That would be cool. You change it.
Why? Because the point was to stop him from screaming.
No, just to fuck with him. You could just stop it, just to fuck with him. Yeah, you just have his eyes get sewn shut,
or
and
in one
Smith
of the,
is laughing then.
Or in the second film, he gets his ears fucked up, so he's losing senses in each film. He can't speak. You know, he can't see. In the fourth one, he turns into a monkey. Monkey see, monkey do. See no monkey.
What a direction for these films.
Yes.
Yep. But then turns out he can see machines anyway, so he's able to.
He's like, I'm fine.
Bane, you know. It was a cool monk moment, yeah.
I see machines.
He could have strapped on a sweet, like, Cyclops headset or something just to cover it up, but still look badass in the Matrix.
No, I mean, no. I think the cloth looks good, you know.
Yeah.
Also, I like when he hits him over the. I like how when he hits Smith over the head with the fucking crowbar or whatever, it just like obliterates. But
that is like brutal. Like in the orange.
They don't want to get an MA rating, so
yeah. So you see, like I love the way that he's looking up. Like they can see him like looking up there, and then the fucking it's like take to his head with a baseball bat. So
I also love how his default avatar has the sunglasses on, so that's like what Neo sees.
Yeah,
it's basically like.
Yeah, that's the real Agent Smith, always wearing sunglasses. So they head towards the Machine City. You get attacked by Sentinels. He was like, "Oh my god, this is too much. Too many Sentinels." So the solution is fly up over the city.
I love
up
that
above the clouds.
I'm
not sure why that wasn't the plan to start with, but
well, it's probably not obvious. I guess you're thinking like, man, we've got to make our way through. It's just like, I can actually.
It's true. It's filled with lightning.
They can't stay up there. They can't stay up above the clouds. Like they shoot up, and it's like a dolphin. They come straight back down. They can't like fly. They're hovercrafts. They're not like.
They could have gone.
Yeah.
Done a wave kind of thing.
Yeah, but every time they dip back in, there's probably sentinels at the bottom. It's like dipping your toe in the fucking like Amazon River, and there's like piranhas and that every time.
But then you know they see the actual sun. Probably the first people to see the actual sun in who knows how long.
Man, that just whole thing, like that is from my first watch, my singular watch all those years ago when it came out. That was the one scene that always stuck with me. I always remembered. I was like, fuck, it just feels so nice. It's just like,
I think they get it perfect because it's not like you haven't seen the sun in these movies. You see it when you're in the Matrix. However, they do such a good job at showing that this sun is so pretty and Trinity's face and everything. Like they sell the moment so well that you are like, man, I haven't seen the sun for ages, have I? But I mean, technically we have.
Yeah,
like
because the idea is that any time prior to that, when you've been in the Matrix, it's pretty much cityscape based inside buildings and it's all grim and that sort of shit. Whereas this is just like nothing but pure rays. He could have taken that moment to do, because what's that thing called? You know, when people like tan their buttholes in the sun. It's like a trend. Have you seen that? Yeah. He could have done that real quick. Just real quick.
Yeah. I'm surprised Trinity didn't just burst into flames like a fucking vampire.
That's a good point. Like, how are these people getting vitamin D?
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, they all die of vitamin D.
Trinity's getting some vitamin D, you know what I'm saying? Your boy.
Well, Neo with his taint up to the sun's getting some vitamin D, am I right?
That's true. If I'm getting a bit of vitamin D in different ways.
We really wish I hadn't brought that up. So you know they go crashing back to the Earth and you know crash a ship, and Trinity's unfortunately impaled several times.
Man, that's fucked. That scene is fucked. Like in a bad way.
The poles.
Yeah, it's like you know it. You know that it's gonna be there, and then he's just like fuck. It's just like the whole
and then Neo
again hitting the emotion.
It's like
it's
pretty messed up.
Yeah,
people make fun of this scene because they're like, "Oh, it's such a prolonged death; it just seems to go forever." But I'm like,
that's how impaling works. Like people can stay impaled on stuff for a really long time.
Yeah. I mean, she dies slowly. Well, I don't feel like it's
you don't get the blood loss until you move, and then the blood can move around.
Well, doesn't old mate in Hot Fuzz get impaled on that statue, and he can still talk?
Yeah,
exactly.
Just a flesh wound.
That was. I had the goosebumps watching that. I was just like, yeah, man. I'm invested. I've been invested in the relationship.
I mean, it's especially rough when we've seen them save each other the last two films from dying.
But this is the real world, man. Like,
that is the difference.
Only one life. You know what I'm saying? Live your life to the fullest, people. You know what I'm saying? Let's get some fucking pogs in the chat. Really? All right, yeah. See how you go. Let me know when you die.
M side. Matrix. M side. All right.
Yeah, so, Neo goes walking around, and then he comes across, like, the main machine, the Deus Ex Machina, as apparently it's just credited as.
Man, like, the
says,
whole animate to form the face, fucking sick. And creepy as hell, like, just so many spikes. I'm like, that thing hurts to look at.
Yeah. So Neo's like, hey, you've got this Agent Smith problem, I'll fix it, but, peace with Zion, please.
So is it kind of like that the Ex Machina is like a cranky old boomer with a PC, and he's like the IT guy rocking up with Norton antivirus? I'm ready to clean it out for you.
I guess so, and yeah. That's why I think it's different to every other iteration of the Matrix, obviously.
Or is it
the ones?
Neoton
The other thing, this is like why people have problems with this film, is because from the moment you get to this scene, Neo is jacked back in with the intentions of like sacrificing himself to save everyone else. But people wanted the massive fight where he's the superhero, he wins. But he jacks in knowing he's not going to. Well, he is winning. Like, he's getting what he wants. Like, he's beating Smith. But it's not the way that people want with the Hollywood ending, with the hero walks into the sunlight. Like he doesn't lose.
Okay, he doesn't smash Agent Smith's face so hard that every single Agent Smith dies.
No. And I've seen other people think that, like, this was some decision, like it didn't mean to happen or whatever. It's like, no. That's the agreement. Like, he jacks back in, and the idea is that's what's going to happen. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, the fight is to get to the stage where Smith will try to do that. So then he can, the Deus Ex Machina robot thing can jack in with the white cells. But yeah, like, for people who wanted their Superman moment, which it is funny because it is like
most Superman moment.
It is.
Really.
Yeah, to sacrifice yourself. Yeah, it's like the most doomsday, like literally the death of Superman like scene, but for him. But yeah. I know. I understand why people get angry. Like, well, no, I don't understand, but I get where the anger comes from. But I'm like, you're just looking for a completely different movie. Yeah.
So
I like the fact that it's like not the fairy tale ending. Like it's like the ultimate sacrifice. And whilst at the same time, Morpheus and everyone else is like, yo, Morpheus, what's Neo going to do? He's like, he's going to do something. I don't know what, but he's going to do something.
Yeah.
And he did something.
He's doing something. So yeah, we get the massive Neo-Smith fight in which one Smith fights one Neo.
Yeah, he's like, I don't need you guys. And they're just like...
Overconfidence.
Sick.
Well,
because he's all like, I bet you, I've seen it. Yeah.
He thinks he's seen it.
Yeah, he thinks he's seen it. Yeah.
He thinks he sees him, I guess him sees it. When he absorbed the Oracle, he sees himself absorbing Neo.
Man.
But it's interesting that right before he's like got doubts as whether that's the right thing to do. It's like...
That's how a virus thinks.
I don't know if that's how virus thinks.
No,
I don't know.
It's because Neo blows his mind by expressing freedom of choice, like free will. And Smith still as a robot, as this program who's sort of running on, like he's running on what he's built to do and not actually, like he's not choosing to do anything. Like he's just doing stuff because it's what he's driven to do.
No,
he doesn't really
I'm pretty sure he is
why.
free. That's the point. That's why he's particularly said that Neo set him free.
No, he's just on this path to take over everything and destroy anything. He doesn't really understand why, though.
I think I've got an ultimate question. Who created Smith as a virus?
Neo. No, I don't know.
No. I assume whoever created the Matrix, the architect.
But that's why his mind's blown at the end when Neo's, like, he asks him that question and Neo says, because I choose to or whatever. Yeah. And Smith just can't comprehend why he would keep fighting, like why he would choose to keep fighting or whatever.
Oh, fuck, man. I love that whole scene, him in the muddy water. He's like, why do you persist? Which is like one of the main quotes that has also been embedded in my mind that I forgot was part of this. And this also features my favorite scene, which was so laughable back in the day, but it doesn't matter now. But the ultimate Hugo weaving on ropes flying in on like an arc to like take him out in the putty thing. Like it's clearly not CGI'd or anything, and I fucking love it because it's just like they spent all this money on everything else, and there's this one scene where it's like clearly he's just sort of like it's not even like flying in on a straight; he's like swinging in, and it happens so quick. But fuck, I love it.
Hugo's like, I want to do one.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. But man, the amount of this whole scene, as you said before, because it's nighttime, they can get away with any awkwardness. But everything looks sick. Symmetry in like every shot. Like everywhere there's like, okay, we're going to have the center line, there's this big ball explosion, and let's fucking do this, and let's like top to bottom and 69 and whatever, like they just had to get symmetry going on.
The water stopping whenever they do their big
like the
booms
big,
is awesome.
The water going out in like a certain globe or whatever. Really, really cool.
Oh, and then coming back to the classic, does the fucking hand thing. And the entire time he doesn't want to fight, he's just like, give me $1, bitch. He's just a poor boy from a poor family. All right.
Yeah, so, Smith tries to absorb him. The Deus Ex Machina thing, like,
well, he
pumps
does
him.
Successfully absorb.
He does, but then he gets the healthy dose of white light. Those LED lights, ultraviolet, and gets rid of the virus.
Yep.
And the exploding Smiths look markedly better than the first film, so which you'd hope so.
Well, they're exploding in different ways this way, so. So it turns out that everybody absorbs, apparently seems to be okay, except Neo.
No, the programs, I guess, survive somehow,
That might be it, all the programs survived.
Yeah.
Because obviously we see the Oracle in the street, and then that kind of stuff. So then they carry... Well, multiple things happen. Obviously, all the Sentinels leave Zion, and they go to the conclusion that, hey, the war's over.
Yes. Neo has struck peace for some time.
Yeah.
What
I don't
all the
exactly know
Sentinels
what
do in the
that peace
meantime?
means exactly, but is it just we're not going to attack Zion anymore, or
find out in the fourth film, which we'll get to.
We'll get to in a second, but. A lot of that kind of thing, and people celebrating. Everybody's happy. They carry away Neo's body,
like a god, like he's a Jesus Christ on a cross type scenario.
I guess, but it's
They
like a
carry
giant
him through a
conveyor, I
train.
think. So I mean, it's like they stuck him on the back of a ute and almost. I mean, and then obviously we end the film with the Oracle and the architect talking about, how there's gonna be peace, at least for as long as they can.
Architect's still a prick.
Architect doesn't seem very happy about all this.
Yeah, he's just he's like the ultimate throwing shade at humans. sort of deal. Yeah. And then Sati's back. She's like, yay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
But this is what I mean, like what I said at the start, where the ending of the film makes sense. It's like Neo has a fight, he's injected, it kills all the Smiths. All of that I don't think is hard to understand. It is what happens after, how long the peace lasts, what exactly the terms are, what happens to Morpheus. All these things, I understand there's a lot of questions there, but for what exactly happens between Neo and Smith and how that all got resolved, I don't feel like that's really open for question. That's pretty cut and dry. What happened.
I just like the fact they address it. It's will we see Neo again or whatever? And so, I'm not sure, whatever. It's like, hey, the door's open, bro.
Yeah, so they left the door open. So, with that said, what are we expecting from Resurrections? What questions do we want answered?
Does it?
Did Neo die at the end of this movie? I guess is the question.
Well,
I want to know.
I think,
or did they just stick him straight back to the Matrix?
I'm still trying to decide all that. The coolest part, though, that I like is the fact that it's clearly this time has passed, present day, everyone glued to their phones, and he's looking at them like, the fuck are you doing? And they're really addressing that sort of social media addiction sort of thing. I was like, yeah, that'd be dope. But then the whole
it's
thing
been
where
20
he's
years since the first one.
where he's going back and he's like meeting them again, and then like just the little exchanges where he's like in the thing with Morpheus, but Morpheus doesn't know him, and it's like tables are turned sort of deal. So yeah, I don't know, but are you speculating that, you know, say for example, Morpheus, he's younger, so is it meant to be like another Morpheus?
Maybe.
Like he's like,
or
now,
they
like
just,
Neo's
or Laurence
the thing
Fishburne didn't want to come back, so they just got someone who kind of looks like Laurence Fishburne.
Yeah, but I don't think like he's younger, and then obviously all the posters and that, they got like the different like costume and stuff, and so it almost feels like meeting the master in his like initial forms, sort of thing. It's like a time travel sort of deal, but it's not actually time travel because I feel like it's like another instance of Morpheus, but from the start. So,
I mean, there are a lot of interesting potentials here. I mean, obviously,
and just keeps popping those pills all the time too.
The most important scene in maybe this movie is like the opening, like at the train station where they're explaining these programs can be deeper and more meaningful and that kind of stuff. Could Morpheus be like a program of Morpheus?
Yes.
That's a possibility. I saw in the trailer they've got Priyanka Chopra Jonas.
Sadie.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was watching the film. Like,
100%.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And she's the Oracle now.
That would be an interesting twist.
That's what I'm going with.
But yeah, it's sort of like old man Neo versus... But then Trinity's like meant to have, I guess, visibly aged the same as Neo.
What is Trinity?
Yeah, she's getting
what
coffee.
Is Carrie-Anne Moss
she's just getting coffee, I think.
See, the thing with trying to work out this film is, like, instead of trying to understand what's happening in the Matrix, try and think about, like, the real world and what's happened. So, like, if this is 20 years after, like, real time 20 years, and let's say there
do
was
we
a
think
period of
they're
peace,
still at peace?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say no, because that's why we get a film. But
I think they're technically still at peace, but there's programs that want it to go back to the way it was.
Like rogue programs?
They're like rogue programs like the Frenchman. Like, they're like, this has been alright, but we would like things to go back to where we had complete control over these dumb humans and we were trying to kill them.
There's a couple shots. You don't see much of the Matrix, like the real world in this trailer, but there are a couple of shots. There's one shot of like the pods. There's another shot of the real, like the robots. You don't see anything of Zion. You don't see any like real human characters other than one shot of what looks like Neo waking up from the first film, but it could be, again, I don't really know. Otherwise, you don't really see anyone, I don't think.
The question is...
Kind of break up.
Oh, that's right, Trinity, and I think there's a Morpheus shot too, actually, but in the same moment. But otherwise, you don't see, like, there's no Jada Pinkett Smith. So it's like when you think about characters who are returning, who never died, you know, like, what are they up to?
Well, Thingo, like, Clayton, what's his face, the kid, is cast in it. So it'd be cool if he's in it and have aged that much as well.
Who, what?
The guy who plays the kid, he's in it. He's in this new one.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So,
oh, mate, Mickey.
Right, all the way back to
I mean, there's a lot of people in this film that we haven't seen. Well, there's only been one
I mean,
trailer.
My biggest question is the rubber duck the new spoon?
Maybe.
Yeah, it is quite prominent, isn't it?
Yeah.
On his head when he's in the bath.
And I kind of like that. Like, I like how it's not like an origami crane or something that's, you know, very typical. It's like and it's not like a little spin top, you know. It's rubber duck.
Yeah.
Rubber duck sales are going to go through. This will be like what Queen's Gambit did to chess. This will do to rubber duck sales.
Yeah, everybody's going to want a rubber duck.
Wait till you get like a Grogu rubber duck crossover. Shit's like hotcakes. Huh?
I think Jonathan Groff's character is going to be very important. I feel like I get like almost.
Do you
maybe
think
like
he's Smith or version of Smith?
Like,
yeah,
like almost an Architect Volume 2, potentially.
How do you feel like because it's only one of the Wachowskis doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like that would affect any obvious direction? Because I'm trying to think to behind the scenes when there was of these original three, of like them working together, sort of thing.
So Lena done that Sense8 show for Netflix, and that has some like fight stuff in it and whatever else. It will be interesting to see how the fight scenes go, because it is a known fact that there's no second unit like doing the fight scenes for this, which is what happened in the first film. Lena has directed the entire thing from start to finish, including the fight scenes. So you don't have that group who were directing the fight scenes who have now gone on to become directors of like John Wick and whatever. Like you don't have that team doing this. Yeah. It's all one person. So yeah, the fights will certainly be interesting. It'll certainly be like clap, clap, great job all around, or like all the fights were let down in the movie. Yeah.
Just checking. So do we have the pulled early release, or is ours still later? Oh no, it is Boxing Day.
Boxing Day.
So ours is matching then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
awesome.
What do you guys not want to see in this film?
I don't want to see them try and do what happened in Rise of Skywalker, where they try and force in like characters for fan service nostalgia.
You don't want Neo to have had a lineage dating back to the first machines. His great grandfather created the first robot, and that's why he's the one.
No, I'm not.
Not on board with that.
Remember, I don't go back. I'm not going backwards. I'll go forwards. I only watch things ahead.
The architect is actually a Neo who chose to take up the position of the architect and not restart the Matrix.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Time travel is a thing I do not want to see.
No. I don't know what I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I don't even know really what
that's the thing is I don't think it'll be time. That's what I was saying before. I don't think it'll be time travel, but it'll be like time travel, where he's like, meeting people that don't know him and they're in their younger form, sort of thing. I love that sort of shit, but yeah. And also he like, upon watching this again, it's even more so like not John Wick-ish. Because like that's just how Keanu Reeves looks, is the beard and the hair now, and that's what John Wick. But the more me watching the trailer, I'm like, no, he just looks like older. Like he's just not. He doesn't look like slick John Wick. Do you know what I mean? Like, and So I'm hoping those initial comparisons just like fall out the fucking window as soon as this movie comes out.
The comparisons are 100%. It's an action film with John Wick, and a bunch of people go, I've never seen The Matrix, so this is John Wick.
Yeah.
That's the comparisons.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought.
Mm-hmm.
People going to this movie never seeing the original three.
I can't wait to see people go watch this movie.
But that might be like people that had seen the prequels and not had seen 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
That was my exception.
It's funny because
that those three were pre earliest memory films that I've seen. The original Star Wars. There you go.
It'll be interesting to see how much of this is like treated as a refresh, reboot, or whatever. While like, because it's obvious, like it's a continuation, but then I think they're trying to do the whole like draw a new audience at the same time thing. So it'll be interesting to see how how accessible it is.
That makes me think that. Because you said because I didn't even know about there was another 3 were planned. I thought it was just this one. And so they're
we don't know.
Oh,
we don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say money. But then hopefully without the sake of losing quality or anything. If that's the case, I think Neo's going to be killed off or exited before the end. Like I don't think he's going to carry through as a main character.
Yeah, I don't know who becomes the main character at that point, though.
Well, Yaha or Jessica Henwick is the third, fourth listed character who's on the poster.
Because that's what I'm saying. That's what I was thinking.
Her character's called Bugs, so I don't know if people will be on board with the character called Bugs being a star of a massive franchise.
But is this like...
Unless they're a bunny.
Weird when I'm talking about like another instance of Morpheus going from young to older. So does this sort of like morph, pun intended, into a Morpheus origin story? But it's not the same. Do you know what I mean? We got to get used to this
Who knows?
multiverse shit. I think that once people are into like the whole like there's multiple timelines and stuff, then they can wrap their head around there's like multiple versions in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Do we see do all the other 6 the ones come back to help Neo fight? And do they call that
Neo
movie
has connection to the previous ones?
Do they call that film Neo Way Home?
Let us know what you thought of The Matrix Revolutions by going to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter or jump to Discord at explosionnetwork.com/Discord. Simon, where can people find more of your puns on the internet?
At Precise Path on Twitter.
All right. If you want to help us out here, what do you want to watch? Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or tell people about the show. And if you like this episode and thought it was worth the $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. We're looking forward for you coming back sometime after Boxing Day when we've seen Matrix Resurrections. Until then, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Welcome to the real world.